Kent is an apology. As determined by Glamorgan Springbank Council in 2017, all ordinary and special meetings of Council are to be audio and visually recorded and streamed live. A link is available on Glamorgan Springbank Council website to the YouTube platform, where the public can view the meeting live and watch recordings of previous council meetings. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and Regulation 33, these video audio files will be retained by Council for at least 6 months and made available for viewing live, as well as online within 5 days of the scheduled meeting. The written minutes of a meeting, once confirmed, prevail over the video audio recording of the meeting. I need to also make councillors and the members of public aware that we have the ABC here tonight, a reporter and cameraman, and they will be recording sections of the meeting, particularly the public question time. There is an interest in some of the matters that's going to be raised, apparently. So, with that in mind, it's my pleasure to welcome councillors, staff and members of the public and declare the meeting open at 5:02. As I said, Mayor Michael Kent is an apology. He's currently on some extended leave. In attendance, I have the General Manager, Mr David Metcalfe, and our Executive Officer, Ms Turvey. Declarations of pecuniary interest, in accordance with Regulation 8 of the Local Government Meeting Procedure Regulations, I'm requesting elected members to indicate whether they or a close associate have or are likely to have a pecuniary interest in any item included in the agenda. No declarations tonight. Thank you. Agenda item 2 is the confirmation of the minutes, the ordinary meeting, April the 24th, 2018.
I move them. The minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Tuesday, 24th of April 2018 be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Seconder? Second. Councillor Parker. So I move Councillor Woods, seconded Councillor Parker. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against?
Wasn't present.
I beg your pardon?
I wasn't present.
Thank you, Councillor Westby. The motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 2.2 is the workshop held on the 10th of May, resolution, which was a budget workshop. Resolution is that Council notes this information. Agenda item 3, there is no planning authority section, so we do not have a planning officer here tonight. Agenda item 4 is public question time. So we'll delve straight into that. If I could ask Mr Paul Carswell, please. Thank you, Mr Carswell.
Thank you, councillors, members and public. I would like to ask, what is your opinion about the impact on locally owned and operated businesses?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
What is your opinion about the impact on locally owned and operated businesses in regards to the Cambria Green estate?
I think it's a question we'd have to take on notice, Mr Carswell, to be perfectly honest. The matter is still being considered by Council and it's currently in a public exhibition period, so it's something that we would truly have to take on notice for you. I'm sorry.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Anne Held, please.
Hi, thank you very much, councillors and public. With regard to the SAP amendment plan decision...
I wonder if you could... we'll give you a microphone because it's very hard to hear you. Thank you.
Hello? Yeah, that's fine. Working? So with regard to the specific area plan for the Cambria Green estate that was lodged by Cambria Green Agricultural and Tourist Management Pty, which you as council initiated last month on the 24th, my question is that prior to making the decision on that proposal, how many of you actually read thoroughly all of the documents and reports and considered the decision to initiate?
The reports that were made available to Council and the reports that we had available to us for the meeting were in the agenda. There were 2 that were provided at that time. When the plan was initiated to public exhibition, then all the documents become available to both the public and to the full council. So we have now, in this public exhibition period, the opportunity to review all of the documents that were available.
I'd like to answer that. I actually read all, bar 3, because they were available before that council meeting. But the 3 that weren't available to me, I asked the planner for those, and he said that the applicant said that I didn't need those 3 for the actual rezoning part.
Okay. So. Thank you, Councillor Crawford.
So, given that, can I ask the councillors, all councillors, what was the criteria that you used in making the decision to initiate the specific area plan proposal?
What was the
criteria?
Criteria was in relation to this, how we came to the decision to initiate it?
Yes.
Okay. I need to remind the members of the public that this is not a debate session. We technically can't debate anything, so I can't, in effect, ask every councillor to reply to respond to you. There's a very distinct process in relation to specific area plans, and council went through that process to initiate the plan to get it to public exhibition. At the end of the 42-day period, all representations will be considered by council from a further report from our planning officer. And at that point, council will then need to make a decision taking account of all the representations and the legislation that prevails at the time. We will have to make a decision as to whether we're going to send the plan to the Tasmanian Planning Commission, who will make the ultimate decision in relation to whether the special area plan meets the objectives of the state planning provisions and or is able to be approved. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. So Stevie, is that it, Ms. Hill? Stevie Davenport?
I'm Stevie Davenport.
Yes.
I'm a 26-year resident of Dolphin Sands.
Mm-hmm.
Given that I found the proposed special area plan enormously complex, I'm wondering whether councillors are aware of, if this were to go ahead, it would effectively remove most inhibitions, most regulation on planning for that region.
That's at the moment, my understanding at the moment, and I can be corrected by the General Manager, but my understanding is that many of the projects that they want to undertake on that property is currently allowable under our current planning scheme. They don't require the specific area plan to actually do some of the projects that they want to do there. They are discretionary use on that property. And I do take your point that it is very complex, and that's why I think it's really important that we go through this public exhibition period. It's really important for councillors to get further information. It's really important for the community to get further information in relation to it. So yes, I agree totally. It is a very complex matter.
May I have a second question?
Yes, ma'am.
Given the complexity of the special area plan and the potential for much less regulation on what might happen on the land if that special area plan is approved, who do you see, or what body do you see as being in a position to provide any regulation? It's possible that the development might be nothing like what has been proposed already.
It will have to come to a development application process. It will come through the normal planning scheme development application process. So once hypothetically, the special area plan is approved and is approved by the Tasmanian Planning Commission, then there will need to be a development plan done for the property, which will then come under the umbrella of the state planning provisions or under our planning scheme.
So who's the regulator in that case?
Council as the planning authority or the Tasmanian Planning Commission.
So either or.
Depending on whether it comes to council, and as I said, Ms Davenport, this is not to be a debate session. I will answer your question to the best of my ability at this stage.
Thank you very much.
The council acts as a planning authority. If there is a representation, the decision can be taken to appeal, and then that becomes subject to the Tasmanian Planning Commission, a decision by the Tasmanian Planning Commission. So there's a very, very regulated and strict controls around planning. And whether that's done by council as the planning authority assessing the plans against our planning scheme, or whether that is done by the Tasmanian Planning Commission in the process of an appeal by a community member or even the developer. The reality is that the developer can actually appeal the conditions of a development as well. So there is that level of bureaucracy, if you like. Okay. Jenny Churchill, please.
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Jenny Churchill. I'm a resident on Dolphin Sands and very passionate about the East Coast. I would like to request, please, that Council strongly consider giving a small group of the community the hour of the Council's time that you have given to the proponents and the planners.
Yes.
I think that's only fair.
Absolutely.
And I would like that to be, we will work in with you at your convenience, but you maintain that you are interested in community consultation. I think that would be a fair thing to do.
Absolutely, Mrs Churchill. You will not get any argument from your councillors seated at this table tonight at all. We actually did flag that as something that we could do as part of this representation process. So, yes, I don't have a problem with that, and I'm sure my fellow councillors would agree with me. And we'll try. What we would try and do. No, I don't think we should say we'll try and do it. What we will do is do it within the 42-day representation period, so that you have a chance to then put in your representation. Okay?
Second question.
Yes.
As a follow-on from Stevie's, we know that there is no DA. That's obvious.
Not at the moment.
We know that the master plan concept is a concept. And so it's fine to say that everything that will come in will sit in under the planning that's happening. But there is no control, once the SAP goes through, about what DA that developer will put in. It could have nothing to do with the master plan concept. And I think you all know that that's correct.
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, I've got no real comment on that. I'd have to have a look at that.
I'd have to have a look. Yeah. We've done special area plans for other areas, for example, the Spring Bay Mill and for Solus, and they all have development applications around those specific area plans. So there is a development application process within the specific area plans.
There
Okay.
is, but at this point in time, there is no development
No.
application, and they are not held to the concept master plan.
Okay. All right.
That's correct?
Mr Churchill.
Yes, Rob Churchill is my name. I'm also a resident of Dawson Sands. If I may, I want to direct my question directly to Councillor Woods. At the meeting on the 24th of April, Councillor Woods spoke very strongly against the SAP initially, and then in that meeting there was a sudden turnaround, or appeared to be a sudden turnaround in your decision, and you decided to vote for the SAP, and indeed I believe you put the motion for the SAP. I was wondering if you could explain the reasons behind that sudden change within that meeting, when really there was no added information given to you after you initially spoke, as from planning or anyone else?
Thank you, Mr Churchill. Yes, I can answer that through you, Deputy Mayor, or Acting Mayor Arnold. Throughout the meeting, I came, as I stated in the meeting, I came in with an open mind and I listened to fellow councillors around the table, and yes, I did say strongly that I wouldn't support it. When then the planner then spoke about further information being by supporting the recommendation to start the process, which is basically what it was, that by doing that we were going to have more information, and that's the reason why, because the only information that we had was what everyone else has had, but with supporting that, with changing my mind and then going to support it, I then thought, and my belief was that there would be further information for everyone to get, not just councillors but everybody within that has concerns with regards to Canberra Green, and that's why I changed my mind.
Well, that's a second question and a follow-up to that. Can I reasonably ask if that information has been given to you, and your period that you had to consider this SAP was basically 4 working days. Did you have the time in that period to actually talk to people who might be planners, who had the ability to guide you through your decision making?
No, I can't say that I did have. I didn't speak with the planner with regards to it. It was just a decision that I made on at this moment, being able to have more information available to everybody. That's the reason why I did the major turnaround, and that's the only thing I can say to your question.
Mr Churchill, could I just intervene here? One of the things that we did talk about, and you may recall from the meeting, is that by putting it out to public exhibition, it did give the community the opportunity. We originally the planner's recommendation was minimum of 28 days. As a council, we took the view that 28 days simply wasn't long enough to give people the opportunity to look at all the documents that are available. There's about 15, I think, from memory. I know there's 2 A4 binders full. So we agreed on a 42-day period, and that was to give everybody, as I said earlier, everybody, council, community, the opportunity to actually review everything prior to us. This is the first part of a very complex matter and a very first part of a complex planning process. So this 42-day exhibition period gave us as a council and the community the opportunity to see what was being planned there and whether the community could then put in their representations. And I, as everybody that has communicated with me by emails, I have encouraged them to put in their representation so that your concerns as a community can be addressed through our planning process. So that's really why I voted for an initiation of the period. It was to start the process, start the community consultation process in relation to it. All right. Can I move on? Thank you. Mr.
I'd have to say that the SAP was still passed through that meeting at a critical point, and if I can be so blunt, it was Councillor Wood's vote that actually determined that. That's why I see this as a very significant point, and I see your input as being extremely significant.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Stevenson, please.
My voice is obviously not loud enough. And I live on Canberra Drive. I'd just like to ask how long the General Manager, the Mayor and the councillors have known about the Canberra Estate SAP.
As a council, we learnt about it in our agenda. Staff would have had the application and been assessing that to present it as a report in council, but I'm not sure how long prior, Mr. General Manager.
Through you, Mayor, I can certainly state that we knew about it probably 2 years ago. but we know about a lot of developments 2 years ago. There's a formal process that has to be gone through, and that's initiating this formal process, and that's what council agreed to. I mean, there's a lot of conceptual work that's done. We need to tell them what reports they need. So yeah, we encourage developers to come to Glamorgan Spring Bay to get guidance on how to lodge applications. So.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, Councillor
I'd
Crawford.
just like to make that known publicly that when the General Manager says we knew about it, that was actually staff. I certainly as a councillor did not know about it till 4 days before. Just want to make that really clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Just ask
Yes,
my
sorry,
second
Mr.
question.
Stevenson.
Just to get the process clear in my mind, why couldn't there be public consultation prior to initiating the actual SAP? Why couldn't it be out there for public discussion, which would then obviously influence councillors' decisions on whether to initiate it or not?
I suspect that's something that would be a decision of the developer, not the council. So if the developer chose not to go to any sort of consultation, not to put it out there, for want of a better term, that's the developer, that's the property owner's prerogative. As a council, we can't force them to do that, so. Okay. All right. I've probably been a wee bit lenient here this evening with the public question times, because technically it is only a question, and more often than not, those questions are taken on notice to be included in the next agenda. What I would like to say to the members of the gallery, though, is that this meeting tonight will only be very short. And clearly many of you have driven from Swansea. So after a short meeting that we had a little bit back, we actually invited the members of the gallery to stay after the meeting and have a conversation with the councillors. And I'm extending that invitation to the members of the gallery tonight. The council meeting should be over in approximately 15-20 minutes. So if you would like to stay and have a conversation with some of the councillors after the meeting, we would welcome that opportunity, okay? But it won't take the place of your workshop, Mrs. Churchill. Okay, all right. Councillor Wisby, there is a letter in our public question time which relates to a matter that was that arose from a letter from a ratepayer. I am aware that you would like to make a statement in relation to that.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Arnold, Acting Mayor. So in reference to Ms Connaughton's questions on notice detailed in letters dated the 15th of March and the 13th of April 2018, I wish to apologise for the delay in providing Ms Connaughton a response. On the 16th of April 2018, I requested further information relating to this matter from the General Manager. As at this morning, the requested information has not been received from the General Manager or a response to my request. I have contacted Link Tasmania and intend to travel to Hobart within the week to access that information. Due to the seriousness of Ms Connaughton's statements, Ms Connaughton and members of the public deserve a complete and factual response that does not involve hearsay. It is my intention to provide that response in the next council agenda.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can I comment on that, Mayor?
At this point, probably not, Mr. General Manager. I'd like to just leave it at that at the moment. Agenda item 5 is the information reports from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy.
Yes. Councillor Woods.
Thank you. If I may, just to fellow councillors, with regards to the visit by the Governor of Tasmania, just want to let you all know that we had a very good and positive day. The visits that we all went to were extremely informative, and it was interesting to find out what's going on in our community in various places. And I'm very honoured to have been part of what was a very interesting and positive day.
Thank you.
Can
Right, any other questions? Councillor Parker.
thank you, Deputy Mayor. In one of your reports, and I don't know where it is at the moment, regarding the, we were just talking about, Councillor Woods was talking about, you asked the Governor, you actually explained to the Governor what was things that were concerning the people of this area?
The Governor asked a question in
Yep.
relation to what our main concerns were.
Yeah.
That we basically talked to her about the lack of water. So our water, housing for, Councillor Woods, help me here, housing for employees of businesses. I think there was only the two, maybe three things that we talked about.
If I may.
Oh, infrastructure. The effect on our tourism is having on our infrastructure, like on what's happening at Coles Bay with the effect of the number of tourists on the Coles Bay infrastructure. So it was basically just very general in relation to that.
Well, that's surprising because at the moment this community is divided on Tasau at the moment, and you're aware of that. I'm just surprised that when you were asked a question on what is the issues facing this community at the moment, that issues like that didn't come into it.
No, it was Councillor Woods, yes.
Please,
Yeah.
Acting Mayor Arnold. Yes, Tasau did actually come up in the conversation, not to any great degree, other than like they flagged, both her and Mr. Warner flagged the question and asked how things were with regards to Tasau. And my view is that it's been a good and positive thing for the community, and they were interested in our response. But the conversations that we had, those conversations that we had were over the lunch. So we had about 3/4 of an hour of just informal conversation. And yes, Tasau did come up, but quite minimal in discussion.
Thank you.
But it was, as I say, as Councillor Woods has rightfully said, it was a question at lunch from the Governor. And so we basically had to think on our feet, Councillor Parker, and that was a little bit difficult at the time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Wisby?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My question through you to the General Manager. There, on page 17, there's $5 million of budgeted capital works still to be paid for as at the 30th of April. However, our rates income to the end of the financial year is only approximately $200,000, and we have $1.2 million in the bank. So the first question is, do we have any further grant funding or other funding, other income to come in over and above the $200,000?
General Manager?
Yes, we do.
And what that would be, and where from?
It's about 600,000 from the... But you're comparing budget estimate for the year against what's been spent. We're not going to spend another $5 million in 2 months. It's impossible to do all that work in that period. So we'll end up probably doing between 70 and 80% of our budget, which will be most of the small things. The major things that won't be done is the sealed road pavements. There's $600,000 in there for Louisville Road that won't be done. There's a lot of stuff there that just won't be done for various reasons. And I haven't got the detail on me, but I can certainly say what will be done and what won't be done. So there's no way in the wide world that we need to find $5 million between now and June.
Deputy Mayor Arnold, that's probably a good thing, because it doesn't appear that we have it.
I'm sorry?
That's probably a good thing, because it doesn't appear that we have it. And even to get 70% done of that capital budget, it appears, I haven't got a calculator with me, but it appears we don't have enough to do that. So that was my concern. The number's so high, but it appears the cash, including the 600,000 in grants, is completely insufficient. So I assume that means our cash surplus will be quite reduced from what was forecast.
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, no it won't. It's almost basically on forecast. We always balance to about $1 million every June, and that's what it'll be.
Okay.
We never have cash at the end of the year.
All right.
Yeah, I won't, sorry, thank you. I won't go into it now because it's probably not the right time with the ABC television sticking in my face, but yeah, I won't go any further on that one. And possibly, maybe we could find out a little bit more. I'm looking for the marine infrastructure. Council is currently working on a preliminary port expansion plan. Maybe, Deputy Mayor Arnold, you could tell the councillors a bit about that, because I'm on the Marine Infrastructure Committee and I know nothing about it, and I'm a councillor, and Councillor Crawford's on the committee, and
I think from memory there has been comment about this is a new master plan that's being done at the moment, but I'm not sure where it's at, General Manager.
Through you, Deputy, it'll be presented to the steering committee tomorrow, and then it's going to the Marine Infrastructure Committee at the next meeting.
Which is next Monday?
Next Monday, yes.
I'm not
Next
sure.
Monday.
Deputy Mayor, who's our steering committee? Who are they?
On that steering committee is the head of parks, it's myself, it's navigators, the ferry operator, it's Mr. Burberry, the consulting engineer.
Okay. Thank you.
And this was talked about in council.
Deputy Mayor, can you tell me when that was talked about in council?
I can't personally.
No, neither can I. Thank you.
I don't recall the specific date.
I don't recall the discussion.
Any other questions in relation to the information? Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Arnold. On page 10, at the bottom, it talks about a contract for purchase that's been received for the old SES building in Swansea. Just asking through the chair to the General Manager, is that sale going ahead, or is that subject to the rezoning of that land?
Through you, Mayor, it's actually subject to the conditions of the contract, which state it needs to be rezoned.
Thank you. I had other questions. Page 15. I did ask this question in the March council meeting, and it was taken on notice, but I haven't had a response as yet. It was the figures were in the March agenda, but they're now been taken out. But it's to do with on page 15, the Swansea House at 8 Noyes Street. The budget was at 10,000 for car park and driveway, and the final cost was over 30,000 on that. The question that I asked in March, and I'm asking again, is why was that such an increase in the actual till it was completed on that?
I have no idea, Mayor, but I will take that on board. But I believe that the extra costs in Noyes Street were attributed to we had to supply a shed and a carport under rental regulations. So I believe that may have been the cause of the cost, but I'll find out.
But I've got a vague recollection that was actually stated at one time, Councillor Crawford.
It hasn't been. It might have been in one of your meetings, okay, but it certainly wasn't in a council meeting. I had a question that Councillor Arnold's, Councillor Wisby's already asked. I have.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Page 37, I just noticed that the day in the Mayshore Health Clinic, the concert was being held the 7th of June. I'm just wondering what the process and criteria for council to sponsor events are, whether council has a criteria and a process. I'm not against this event at all. I'm just wondering what that criteria and process is for perhaps other people, other groups in the community would like to apply to have such an event.
Comes under the community engagement budget, I believe.
Through you, Mayor, yes, I would imagine that would fit perfectly under the community development budget.
So that has a criteria and process for that, does it?
As I'm aware.
Okay, it'd be good to get that out perhaps to community so they're aware of that. And the other question on that was whether it is that event is open to the general public, or is it just for the Mayshore residents?
Something I'd have to take on notice, Councillor. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you. I think I had.
Sorry?
No.
Sorry, Councillor?
No.
No, please, Councillor, go.
On page 42, the Tribunal Hanging Gardens down the bottom, I'm just wondering, besides the council labour costs, people that are assisting with that, whether there's any other costs to council contribution?
Through you, Mayor, I've got no idea, but I know it was certainly sponsored by the University of Tasmania, and they certainly paid us for it. I'm not sure what we're contributing, probably design and expertise or something like that. In-kind labour.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm just wondering what the total cost, if you've got that, just a rough estimate of the cost of that, please. The other one I had is on that same page. It's about the council that the Swansea Loo with a View, and because of some unfortunate situation with Tas Water and the location of the sewer main, there's now a request to move the disabled accessible toilet to a different location. Just wondering if you can have a little bit more information on that at the moment, please.
Through you, Mayor, I don't have any more information than what's written. All I know is that it's not going to cost us any more money to move it, and we're not going to move we're moving the toilet rather than the sewer main.
So it's not going to have any effect on the budget?
No.
I'm actually obviously concerned about the budget too, but I'm also concerned about the amenity of where it's going to be moved to, and that has actually gone out for public comment for a DA. So I'm asking, will that be then re-advertised if that is relocated to some other position?
Through you, Mayor, if it's necessary to advertise and have a new DA, we will certainly do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that it, Councillor Crawford?
Just on page 44, the Prosser River Stabilisation Project. Just want to update on that because in the last month's agenda, there was just one word change in that, and it would take place in May. That was from last month, and now it's saying take place in June. I'm just wondering if that is a current thing, or is it likely to happen, or it's not really sure when it might happen.
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, we're waiting for the mobilisation of a floating excavator from interstate, and I believe it is due to arrive in June.
Thank you.
Apparently this excavator is the only one in the country that's capable of this work. We have to get it into the state. Oh, it has to be brought into the state by the people that's doing the work, Councillor, is my understanding.
Thank you.
Okay. I move on now.
Thank you.
Any further questions on the reports? Councillor Parker?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, I have one question on page 30. This is a public document. I just want to know if we could possibly have more information on the first building, BA 17192, it just says Crown Land Tribunal. We all know in here where it is, but anyone reading this book won't have an idea what that entails.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Farmer?
Just a comment, through you, Deputy Mayor, that we could have a report from the manager of buildings regarding the Lure of the View on the Monday's meeting. I've never seen a plan of the Lure of the View. It was probably before my time on council, but
Yes.
it'd be nice to see what the actual plan is, just so we know, familiarise ourselves with how it's going to be changed and how it's going to affect, maybe you say not affect the budget, but we thought otherwise until the statement just made. So I'd like to put it on the agenda for Monday's meeting, which is the marine infrastructure meeting,
Why marine infrastructure, Councillor Farmer?
because the Adrian O'Leary is the manager of buildings, and it's under his department.
I'd probably be more comfortable with having that information come to our budget workshop. I don't see the relationship between the marine infrastructure and the Lure with the View.
As the buildings, the council buildings, and he was.
I understand that. I fully appreciate that. But we did talk in our budget workshop of getting some further information on some of these projects for our next workshop. So I think that's probably the best process to undertake.
Okay, I'll leave
Okay.
it to you then. Thank you.
Any further questions on the officers' reports? No? Thank you. Resolve that we receive the management reports, be received and noted. Thank you. Agenda item 6 is the minutes of the Section 24 committees. There is one in draft form, agenda item 6.1, which is the Tribunal Recreation Ground Advisory Committee minutes. I note that they are in draft and for information, so are we resolved to receive that information? Councillor Wisby?
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. It says, I didn't have a chance to look at the guidelines to check this, but I know they can't employ anyone or engage, I didn't think. A committee could not engage anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it says here, field to advertise for expressions of interest for extensions to building. So that sort of raised a bit of an alarm bell for me, because if you're not sort of qualified and experienced in that area, it could be a bit of a risky move. Maybe that is with the appropriately qualified council staff, but if not, I've definitely got a concern with that occurring and potentially a problematic process.
Okay, I think perhaps we could have the General Manager discuss the matter with the committee chair. Are you happy with that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Thank you. As a result, received the Section 24 draft minutes.
Just a query there, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Palmer?
On that page 52, on that same, it says field to contact the General Manager to clarify ownership of the building. So has that been clarified, or?
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, we own the building. I'm not sure what that means.
No.
And I haven't been contacted yet.
And in the upcoming upgrade financials, is that figure's right? 60,000. It says 60,752, and then down the bottom it says the same figure, but they actually spent $1,651. So is that right?
I have no idea. This is draft minutes of a committee, which will have to be checked.
I just thought if you take money away from the figure, you'd end up with less, but
Sure.
they ended up with the same. So I just wanted, they're doing well.
It will just have to be raised with the committee, councillor,
thank you.
because it's not information that we,
No.
the General Manager, would have.
But it's council money, isn't it?
Pardon?
It would be council money.
50,000 of it is, I believe, a grant that they received.
Right.
Councillor Steiner? Councillor Steiner is actually on that committee, so
Okay.
we'll see if she can provide us with some answers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Councillor Steiner?
I'd like to just address that, and that was a grant. Most of that is a grant.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't at that meeting, so I have no idea about, the other questions that were asked. But certainly that's grant money, it's not council money. Council pays the usual just a contribution. I think $12,000 for electricity and utilities and things like that. But the rest is grant money.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right, so resolved to receive those draft minutes. Agenda item 7 is the officer's report requiring a decision. This is the Swansea branch of the CWA requesting some grant money towards the cost of a defibrillator. Move, Councillor Farmer.
I'll move the recommendation that Council approves a grant of $1,000 to the Swansea branch of CWA in Tasmania towards the cost of a defibrillator.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Parker. Discussion? Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Woods, Councillor Steiner, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Parker, Councillor Wisby, Councillor Farmer, Councillor Arnold. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is some miscellaneous correspondence from Her Excellency the Governor, which was just a thank you letter, and that's where you saw the note about the briefing. Briefing was probably a generous word, Councillor Parker, because as Councillor Woods said, it was really a conversation over lunch more than anything. Okay, agenda item 9 is the motion tracking document. Any questions, any comments? Nothing? Resolved to receive the information there. Question 10, agenda item 10, questions without notice. Councillor Farmer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As you know, I think it was today that the Bishop came up to Tribunna to the St Mary's Church, Anglican Church, with his idea that apparently he wants to sell all the 2 churches, one at Buckland, one here, and also the land and the rectory, to raise funds. As we know, I won't go into it, but it's there. I don't go to that church. I'm not an Anglican. I'm not religious as such, but I'm very concerned about the situation which is apparent in our town at the present time. I've spoken to people who are active members of the church. They have offered some property to the Anglican diocese to be sold, to raise money, but that doesn't include the church. I'm just wondering, there is quite a bit of angst in the town regarding this, and what is the council's responsibility? What situation should we hold in regard to this? Because I said this church has been in the town for generations, since the 1800s. There's a lot of people in the town that put thousands and thousands of hours and dollars of their own money into the church, only to be taken away. And I just wonder, where does the council stand in relation to the situation which has evolved at the present time?
I think the important thing to be remembered, Councillor Farmer, is that it's not just Tribunna, they've also flagged Buckland, I believe, as well, and there's 3 or 4 different properties that belong to the church in this area. I did have some communication with some of the parishioners from Tribunna, and I did offer to attend the meeting with the bishop today. Their view was that they would like to meet with the bishop themselves today, rather than involve council. In terms of what council's view is, I really don't know. It's not something that I've flagged with the councillors in total. My personal view is that it's wrong, that the church, regardless of what religion it is, should not be selling off churches. So that's just my personal view, though. So I don't know about any other councillors. I'm happy to take comment from other councillors for Councillor Farmer's question without notice, if you'd like to make a comment in relation to the current situation with the Anglican Church. Councillor Wisby?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I was thinking about this, and I personally am not a church goer. I used to go to Sunday school many years ago. But I thought about we've got an ageing community, and unfortunately quite a few people pass away annually, and where would funerals be held if we didn't have a church? And also quite a few people use the churches for weddings and for baptisms, and what would the people do locally, you know, for those events. And my understanding is 20 to 25 people go to the Tribunna Church generally for services. So, yeah, that's where my concern, and I only know about the Tribunna one more because, you know, I live here and I've spoken to a few people, but, and I would like to find out more about what's happening throughout the whole municipality, what the intention is. And I think, you know, we're here to represent the people, and possibly we need to do some work on this as councillors and maybe meet with them, you know, at a time that is suitable to most, and possibly, you know, write a letter of whatever it is. Well, it's not necessarily support me, because we may not support, like it's, sorry, you know,
yes,
have a decision as a council decision, and determine a way forward if we get involved or if not, whatever.
Sure.
But I think that conversation,
it's one that has to be had.
yeah, it needs to be had as a collective.
Okay.
Just as a comment on that, I did ask some of the people, because as you know, the Buckland Church has a cemetery attached to it. And I said, what are they going to do with the cemetery? They said, I'll give it to the council. And I thought, yeah, because we've already got, is it 2 cemeteries now, which cost a lot of money to keep. And the same might be a Tribunna. I know they've got a little, what do you call it, the ashes are turned onto, which is on the church property. So that raises another council concern. What are we going to do with the cemeteries? They said they're going to give them to the council.
Yeah, I think that's questions that have to be answered by the hierarchy of the Anglican Church, because I know they've been having significant conversations with our neighbouring council, with Southern Midlands, because Southern Midlands have, I think, 8 churches in their area, and 7 of them are up for sale, and they are all in rural communities, and they're all very important to the area. And Councillor Wisby has raised a particularly important aspect of it, in that the concern, particularly of the older members of the community, is, you know, they don't want their funeral held in a church hall, basically. Which is what the church has suggested. So I think Councillor Wisby has a point. It might be something that after this meeting today with the Bishop, we maybe need to have some more communication with those parishioners that arrange that meeting, and then perhaps Council needs to have a conversation around that. So, and I'm happy for that to facilitate that. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I agree with what Councillor Wisby and Councillor Farmer was saying. I think what quite often is forgotten by city people is the percentage of people that actually use the church. I also think that we need to deal with this sooner rather than later, because it's on the move, and perhaps at one of the budget workshops that perhaps we could have a special meeting to deal with that, because it needs to be really moved right now, and I'm just wondering if perhaps we could actually ask the church for the back pay on rates, actually, might buy those buildings back, actually, but so I think that we need to really move on that.
So in response to your question, Councillor Farmer, could I make a suggestion that I contact the members of the local church here that contacted me, find out what the outcome was with the Bishop today, and then we make a further conversation or a further discussion about the matter. But as Councillor Crawford has said, I think it really does have to happen sooner rather than later. Councillor Steiner.
Acting Mayor, I just wanted to add to that, and that is that I think it's only 25% of the sale of properties that is actually going to the restitution of victims.
That's right.
The rest is being spent in other ways. So I think that's something to keep in mind when having discussions.
Yes, that's exactly right. My understanding is they're hoping to raise $20 million, of which they're only going to use 8. I believe 8 if they go into the redress scheme. So yes. Any other Councillor Parker?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Someone that was christened, married, and all my children were christened in that church. My personal views is that we don't get involved. I find some of the comments that Councillor Farmer has made a little bit hypocritical. He says there's a lot of people who've done a lot of work and put money into that. So did we do that with the old council chambers? And what did this council do? Put it on the market. As for the wall with the ashes in it, my brother's one of those that were in the wall. That has all been moved to the other cemetery at Tribunna, so there's nothing there anymore. Yeah, I don't think this council should get involved in something
But
like that.
with respect, Councillor Parker, it doesn't fix the problem with perhaps Buckland. Buckland Church is iconic within our community, and it has a cemetery which has a lot of the early settlers there, a lot of the local families there. So whilst Tribunna might be, in your view, not something that we should get involved in, the actual sale of the properties, Anglican properties within our municipal area, should be something that we should be at least keeping an eye on and keeping tabs on, I think, because some of the properties are incredibly important to our ratepayers. So I take your point.
Yep.
Okay.
Councillor Arnold, you spoke about Tribunna and then you spoke about Buckland. I'm not sure what's happening further up the coast, within our municipality, so it'd be good to actually get an overview of the whole municipality.
I did look it up. Swansea wasn't listed because they still have a resident minister, which is in fact our minister from Tribunna. And I didn't see anything for Bishonoy, so I don't believe there's anything. Yeah, that's Gala Kirk, but yes, I'm not sure what the situation is with Gala Kirk.
It'd be good to find out.
So we need to have this conversation. But I think, if with respect, councillors, I think the best way to start this conversation is to find out what the bishop's words were tonight from the people that were actually at that meeting, and whether that's from Reverend Smith, whether that's from some of the Darcy people or whatever, I don't know. But if you would indulge me, I would like to take up that conversation with those people and report back to council. Is that all right? Okay. Any other questions without notice? Councillor Steiner.
Acting Mayor Arnold, I have come across something on the internet, and it's probably more a rhetorical question because I don't think anyone here can actually answer it. But it's just some information that I thought, given the Cambria estate, some information for people to think about. And I'll just read this short passage that was on the internet. On the morning of April the 21st, which was 3 days before our council meeting in April, Beijing Li Hang Tong Culture and Art Company Limited and Australia's Cumbria Green Agriculture and Tourism Management Committee Limited jointly developed and constructed the Cambrian Culture and Art Town in Tasmania, Australia. And at this particular hotel, they had a signing ceremony. At the signing ceremony, the chairman of the Beijing Culture and Art Company Limited, Zhan Si, and the chairman of Cambria Green Agricultural Tourism Management Company Limited, Lu Keijing, excuse my pronunciation, and general manager signed a cooperation agreement. Both parties agreed that the cultural and arts town of Cambria, Tasmania, can be used as a featured town that integrates cultural tourism, leisure and old age care. And they see this as an opportunity to jointly develop a cultural tourism industry. So that, to me, is very significant. And that was celebrated before we had our council meeting. I think that was very telling.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor. Any other questions? Councillor Parker, then Councillor Farmer.
I have one question to the General Manager. I've noticed big, massive signs have gone up on the highway saying Ryland Ferry. Was that ever, was the DA ever put in for that? Because I really don't understand why there needs to be such massive signs, because we've already had one sign there before, but this has just caused it all to be one jungle at the moment.
Okay, General Manager.
Through you, Mayor, they're part of the Great Eastern Drive and they were put up by state growth.
Okay. Councillor Farmer.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. As you're aware, and I think the General Manager might clarify the fact that employees of the council each day or each second day go along the highway and remove roadkill off the highway. That's part of our contract with the highway. We have visitors stay and they remark on the amount of wild roadkill we have on our roads, and we know the reasons why that is the case. But given the fact that some areas are worse than others, like between Orford and Spring Beach, the other night I counted 17 on the road. The next day I saw 2 dead ones. So that's one of the worst parts of, I reckon, of Tasmania. Is for some reason, that particular part, 4 kilometres. And no doubt there's other parts on the highway. Could there be could the council actually go into kind of like a road count, a review from the workers who do this job? Each week they can find out where the predominant roadkill exists, and maybe we can be proactive as a council and try and approach state growth and even some signage for starters, but maybe we can get some decent fencing along the road to prevent roadkill on the highway, because it's a bad look for any tourist, especially the people from overseas. And I just wondered, can the council be proactive and trying to do? You right there?
Yeah, fine.
Councillor Parker, I would appreciate it if you would allow Councillor
wait till I
Farmer
stop
to
speaking,
speak.
then you can talk to the question.
Councillor Farmer,
Thank you.
I will control the meeting. Thank you. If you'd
But anyway,
like to continue.
that's the question I asked. So or the comment I make. So just direct it to yourself and the general manager. Could we actually look at that sort of situation with the actual workers, our council workers? Could they just have a tick and flick, and then in the end of 3 months we can see where things are happening the most?
General Manager?
Through you, Mayor, we certainly collate that information. We already have that information. We know how many possums, how many wombats. Unfortunately, yes, we do.
Okay.
We already know where they happen, and we put up the appropriate sign, watch your wildlife or whatever it is, on the road. So.
Dusk to dawn signs?
I did ask for that sign to be put up on Redmond Road some months ago, and it hasn't happened. I just wonder maybe we can make that a priority then.
I mean, that's a council road, so the fellas that collect are on the highway usually, but our town maintenance guys would collect that. But you did ask, did you? Right.
Okay, we'll follow that up, Councillor Farmer.
Okay.
Councillor Parker, did you want to share something else? Or
No, that's fine, thank
fine?
you.
Thank you. All right. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Arnold. Got 2 questions to the Chair. I've been asked if Council is trying to buy the Crown land at the Tribana Marina with the intention of selling it on to developers. I said that Council hasn't discussed it, right, but I would ask the General Manager for an update on this rumour.
General Manager?
Mayor, there's no substance in that at all.
Okay.
We lease the land from the Crown.
Okay.
If anybody was going to sell it, it would be the Crown.
Crown. Okay. All right. Second question, Councillor.
It's in relation to the marina thing that we talked about on page 43 with the preliminary port expansion about the commercial fishing fleet out of the existing Tribana port. Has Council staff submitted a grant application to significantly expand the Tribana Marina?
Oh, yes. Through you, Mayor, we have, yes.
Could councillors please have some details of that?
I'm sure it'll be discussed at the Marine Infrastructure Committee meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Any further questions without notice? Nothing? Right. I will declare the meeting closed at 6:05. The live streaming and recording of the meeting will now be switched off. I need Miss